Welcome to a Backyard Ultra podcast. Herdys Backyard Ultra is less than 2 weeks away. So on this episode, Aaron Young, Big Kev, Rob Parsons, Phil Gore and Jess Smith came on to talk all about Herdys and Backyard Ultras. Here you go. All right, so thanks everyone for coming on. We've got Herdys in just under 2 weeks' time, so I thought I'd do a special Herdys episode. And so are you fired up?
Yeah, can't
wait.
You better go first, Phil.
Yeah, you can go first, Phil.
Yeah, pretty excited about it. It's probably my favourite event of the year.
Yeah. It's a stacked field too. I reckon apart from the Sat Champs, is probably the strongest backyard ultra field in Australia.
So entries are capped at 300, and I think there's already more than that. But by the time race day comes around, there'll be around 300 people there. And we've got a few interstate people coming and a few people that have done some big numbers. So it should be really good.
Yeah. And what can you guys tell me about the Herdys course? Like, what's it like? Is it flat? Are there any hills? What's the surface like?
There's one hill, and it goes up about 1.5 meters, maybe 2, near the back end of the lap, and that's about it on the hills.
Yeah, that's all
and
right.
It seems big by the end.
I always walk that hill. Yeah, I always walk that hill, Phil. I mean, Rob, always walk it. It's very small. It's about this big.
That's a good tip.
It's flat. It's totally flat, really.
Yeah, and the surface, is it? From the videos I've seen, it looks like a mix between pavement and gravel.
Yeah, so there's like a cycle path type surface for probably about 50% of the course, and then there's limestone, which is pretty hard packed and easy to run on, and then a tiny little section of trail towards the end with it's not soft sand, but hard packed sand along that bit. It's very runnable the whole way around. There's no real tricks or anything with it. It's just easy running.
Yeah. And would you say it's you would wear road shoes then? I would, by the sound of things, a road shoe course.
Definitely road shoes. Yeah, definitely road shoes.
I do take my trail shoes, but that's just give me something different to wear if I feel like a change. You can do the whole course in road shoes, no issues.
Yeah. And are there what other runners, you guys from WA, so you probably know, you've been speaking around, what other runners, who else is going to be there that can go big?
Well, Tim, I struggle with his last name, Kaprazak.
Oh yeah,
it's coming. Ben Hurst, I've been chatting a little bit with the two of them about it, just to see what they might need a little bit of help with in terms of logistics, and so I think both of those guys are more than capable of, doing some pretty big distances.
Yeah. Tim told me he wants to go 3 nights. He wants to make the at large list for big, so that's his plan.
He's talking
The first thing he said when I spoke to him was I was talking about my goal, and the 3-day, which is 72 hours, is I think is what I know he's aiming for.
Yeah, and from what I remember, Aaron, that's your aim too, is it? Or are you still gunning for that at this event?
Yeah, look, that's been my aim since I first started doing these, and there was a little bit of there was a reason behind it. So before I started really running backyard ultras, I'd applied to for the Army Commandos. I wanted to be a Special Forces soldier, and I kind of with the selection process, there's the kind of final 3 days of it. It's called demarcation, where you essentially work for 72 hours without sleep, and I didn't get the opportunity to try out for the Commandos, so it was kind of my little way of, justifying to myself that I had what it took to be able to do that and work for 3 days. So that was kind of the reason why, from the very beginning, that was something that I had my sights set on.
Yeah. Looking at the long-term or the long-range forecast, the weather doesn't look too bad. Like, it doesn't look too hot or wet or anything. It just like looks perfect. What do you guys reckon? Like, from what
Yeah.
you?
I was having a look at that a few days ago. Is it still showing possible rain on Saturday? Or is it not saying that anymore?
Last check I saw it was like 26 degrees.
Yeah.
All through the weekend.
Yeah, from memory, it was similar to that last year, but I just remember it being really humid overnight.
So humid.
Didn't really cool down. So that like the temperature wasn't particularly hot, but it just was so humid overnight. And I think that got to a lot of runners because it starts at 4 p.m. So you're straight into that night.
Yeah, it definitely affected a lot of people last year. Jess, humidity was a real bugger last year, but 26 sounds good. And a bit of rain, well, we'll take the rain. It's imperfect, it's never that bad, and it doesn't last that long. It's not unlike birdies last year with you guys. I don't think it'll be torrential. So if it's good conditions and there's 300 people, and as I say, there's always another 3 or 4 people that come out the woodwork each event, you know, who push the boundaries. So apart from the 5 of us here, you know, or 4 probably, there's I reckon you're gonna get a lot of people doing 24 hours. I guarantee it'll be a new record for 24 hours, whatever that record is. You know, the amount of people at 24 is going to get smashed in 2 weeks' time. A lot of people now will go to 24, and then it's the next step to 48, and of course then 72 and beyond. So it's a gradual. I think every year more and more people are getting the hang of it. And you know, whereas when me and Phil set the record 2 years ago at 47, 48, you know, that's a warm up now. 2 years later, you know, 47, 48 probably won't even get you top 10. So the boundaries are being pushed every year because people are just getting know what to expect. And Herdys is definitely the easiest. You know, birdies is more fun, but Herdys is the one where you can set the record. And I think, you know, unfortunately, the last couple of years, Phil's been let down by his assists, so he's never really got a massive number. You know, my 47 and then Chaytown, what was it, 50, 51, 52 last year, Phil? You won it?
I got 50 that year, which is one lap before equaling the record.
Yeah, so each year, unfortunately, but now with Rob and Aaron and Jess on board and a few others, I suspect that it's really going to get smashed, and I'll be looking into the 70s and 80s in good conditions, definitely.
Yeah.
Not me. I'll be watching. I just saw my 48, Phil. Just get me to 48. Yeah, I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm retiring at 48.
How have you pulled up from the 200 miler, Kev?
Yeah, that's good. You know, I normally do pull up okay for the 200 miler. Then the only thing is you sort of get depressed because it's so much fun. The 200 miler is so much fun.
Yeah.
When you sort of come back to earth and you're running again, and all you're thinking about is how much fun you had. So I didn't do much running last week, did more cycling to work. And of course, you're straight into the rest of 2 week taper now, the Herdys. So I was in the hills today. But I'm getting excited about Herdys coming up in 2 weeks' time. But after the 200 miler is, that's my happy place. You all need to do it. Phil went past me 100, sprinted past me. We met about 3 a.m. He did have a little chat and we took a selfie, and he carried on. But I generally pull up okay after 200 miler, so I'm feeling good for Herdys anyway.
That's good. And Robert, you did the 100 miler as well, didn't you?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I did the 100 miles. I think passed Kev on the beach just after he found his special package and being all elusive.
One off, Bob, one off. I think there's a good time. So anyway, you can read the post, but Rob and Phil did the 100, which is good. They should have done the 200. The 200 is a lot more fun. The 100, I keep saying, the 100's a race, the 200 is an adventure. And Jess, how was your last night? Was that a 50 mile or 50k?
50k, yeah, 2 nights ago, 50k.
Good, no problem.
No, all good. So it was just a training run, really. So just went out sort of at a steady pace, and then last 15k just dialed back the pace a little bit. Didn't want to get injured, so yeah, it was really good time. It was a 3 kilometer course, so super social. You're just seeing people the whole time, so yeah, it was a really fun event.
See, we all love these events where we go round and round in circles.
Loops, yeah.
3K, 6K, light horse 2.5K. You know, they're just the best.
I was going to say, it's worth mentioning we've got the 1 and 2 from the Aura points comp last year on this podcast as well. Phil,
I don't want to talk about that, Pat. I don't want to talk about that. I'm still upset with Phil on a technicality. I don't know what it was. I didn't win. Phil, you could have given it to me. You won everything else. Just this one.
I thought you were home and hose when we spoke about it.
Yeah, so did I.
It couldn't have been any closer, though, could have it?
I know. We're the same points, all three of us, and then whatever it was. Then
were you gunning for that win, Phil?
Only towards probably the second half of the year. I saw like my points. I was kind of in with a chance, so started looking at it then. But I wasn't really like picking my events based on that or anything. But I was just, every sort of extra lap I could have done, just adds to those points. So, and it basically. It came down to just a few laps of a backyard that determined the difference. So,
oh well, I tried, Paolo. I tried. It's not often you do over 100 points and still not win.
Yeah. Are you going to be gunning for it this year, though?
No, because I'm off to the UK in June for that 1,000-mile race. So because of that, I've got this one, and I'll do Herdys, I'll do light horse, and I'll disappear for all of June, come back in July. But of course, I'll miss a few events. But I'll be doing birdies and Phil. I'm just not sure about the 2 backyard ultras in SA. I'll make if there's a miss this year. So no, not this year. I'll let Phil have it.
So Aaron, I've noticed that you've been training like an absolute Trojan since like the start of the year. So the new job is all good and you're still finding time to do training, obviously.
Work and training is pretty much most of my life at the moment. But my training in the lead up to this is pretty similar to what I did before birdies. Things are like I'm having now been running for a little bit longer, like I'm starting to go a little bit quicker. But the structure of what I've done over the last couple of months is pretty similar to the structure that I had leading up to Herdys. A couple of long runs each week and a couple of interval sessions and trying to get into the gym a couple of times a week as well for strength training. I guess I have, because I was training like triathlon in 2021. I still go down and do swimming on Monday nights with the people that I was. It's more of a social thing than anything, and I use it as a bit of an active recovery kind of session. Their training's been going really well, and it's nice. Like it's certainly the last couple of weeks, I did have a couple of people join me on some of my long runs and come. I had my friend John join me for a ride or two, and I went running with Chris a few times. Chris Martin, who you would have met at the Satellite Champs, and so that's it's all been going really well.
You had you did have COVID last year for Herdys, didn't you? Is that the one that you tested positive for COVID?
I tested my partner at the time tested positive the day after, and then as soon as she got positive test, I tested myself. So 2 days after the race finished, and I had it tested positive. So it's quite likely that I had it because I was feeling like not great, and I just chalked it up to the, that was only the second time I'd done a taper, and when I did the taper for the Ironman, which wasn't that far before that, I didn't feel great during the taper either. So I just thought that was what going through a taper felt like. So it was just look, I don't think I had COVID like really bad, but I still probably had a bit of an impact on me.
Yeah. Have you thought about any adjustments, or are you going to make any adjustments at Herdys compared to the Sat Champs, or like have you decided on any strategies or anything you're going to do different?
Look, a lot of the stuff is minor adjustments. I think the biggest challenges that I see for Herdys is it's either like looking at the weather. It's not looking awfully hot at the moment, but the forecast 2 weeks out can sometimes not be that accurate. So I guess the challenge I see is probably the heat and humidity. Could be something that people are going to deal with. So I've just been trying to work on a few ways to deal with that. And one of the things has been doing a lot of my training in the heat as much as I could. I've been for a few midday runs, and I spend a bit of time in the sauna leading up to a race just to kind of prepare for the heat. And I guess with the getting a little bit quicker over these last over the course of the last year, one of the big advantages that I see that Phil has is because he's such a quick runner is that he does do some quick laps and get some like really good sleep. So I'll be looking to have a lot more consistent sleep than I had at Birdies or the Sat Champs, and trying to get quite a few more sleep laps in the overnight stints.
Yeah,
they're probably the two main things.
Yeah, sounds good. Does and Rob, I was going to say, like, that 73 that you ran at Miram Wernett, when you're obviously high up on the at-large list, do you feel safe with your on the at-large list with that 73?
Not really, in the sense that you look at, like Kev was saying earlier, the progression, like people are getting like large amounts more. It's not like incremental 1 or 2 laps in these races. It's like big chunks people are increasing. So and there's a few of these Masters events lined up where people's intention is to get on that list and to get up really high. So no, I won't be confident until it's done and it's closed off. Just the number of races, the number of people that want to get on that list, and essentially it's in their hands really, as long as there's 2 of them able to keep going. So I'll be booking the tickets over, and it'll either be a holiday or it'll be a race, one of the two. Hopefully it's a race and a holiday, but I definitely don't feel safe until the at-large list closes off.
Yeah. So are you approaching Herdys as an opportunity to do more than 73 to cement your spot there? Or is it more, how are you approaching it?
Yeah, I'm not really going in specifically to try and increase increase numbers on the at-large list. Just again, each time you walk away from one of the races, you wonder whether you've done enough, or could you have done more. You always think you could have done more afterwards. So it's trying to find that limit, and really make sure for this one, for me, it'll be just not quitting. So I guess in the last one, the Sat Champs, I went out on lap 74 and then just turned around and came back in. But I was still doing 50 odd minute laps. So I just mentally checked out and decided that was enough. So I just really want to make sure that, I go and the only option in my head is to win. That way there's no number I'm getting to. There's no milestone. It's just keep going until you're the only one left. So that's sort of how I'm approaching it.
Yeah. And are you going to make any changes as well? Because at Bigs, you've got a much more minimalist kind of setup there. So are you going to change anything as far as your crew goes, or any strategy like that goes, just to sort of get a strategy for Bigs down?
Not really. I guess the Sat Champs was probably a good test for that. My wife is always my main crew chief, and most of the time my only crew member. So at the Sat Champs, I just had her, and she had a good system set up. It's almost sometimes it's easier when there's less people. I find, because otherwise you sit down, you've got 3 people asking if you want something, and you just all you want is just to sit there quietly and do nothing. So I think my wife's really good at that single person crewing. So there's not a lot will really change, I don't think. There's nothing I really want to trial at Herdys. I I think like I said, the Sat Champs was really good. We just had her, and she was keen to keep going at 73 hours. So I think we've got that pretty well down pat.
Mm. And are you a good sleeper between loops? Like when you did the 73, you didn't?
No, I think I probably got about a total of 20 minutes combined over the whole race. But in saying that, I found like just lying down for maybe 6 or 7 minutes and trying to sleep, for me, like physically almost felt as good as sleeping. Like I'd have a lap where you're nodding off while you're walking, you're really struggling with fatigue, and I'd lie down. I wouldn't sleep, but I'd just have my eyes closed and try and sleep. And then the next lap I'd feel okay. So I found that just lying down, eyes closed, doing nothing for me is really sort of what got me through. I think because I run slow laps, I just don't have the time to really get into a good sleep. It wasn't until right near the end of that race that I was coming in, lying down and actually going out for sort of 4 or 5 minutes. The rest of the time it was really just, I was awake, but I was resting, and that was pretty well enough for me.
Yeah. And are you feeling like cherry ripe now after that 100 miler?
Yeah, I came out with a bit of a sore calf afterwards. It came pretty tight in about the last 40 Ks, and I ran through that. So I've been actually taking it pretty easy the last couple of weeks since then. Haven't really done much running. So I figure at this point I'm not going to get any fitter between now and Herdys. So I'm just making sure it's right and keeping the mobility and flexibility up is the key, and hoping that a longer taper will put me in good stead when I get there.
Yeah, sounds good. And Kev, you did the 200 miler the other day, and you mentioned it a little bit before, but I'm really keen on hearing a little bit more about the 200 miler and about what you found on the beach.
What you mean, the kilo of cocaine?
Yeah.
Kilo of cocaine, yeah. Which I swapped for a chicken risotto and a cup of tea with 3 sugars. That was the most expensive chicken risotto. All joking aside, that's probably the most expensive meal on this planet ever since man trod on the planet. $350,000 with risotto, tea, 3 sugars. I didn't even get a sweet. I gave the guy the kilo of cocaine, and I assumed he called the police. I don't know what happened. But yeah, we found the kilo. Me and Sarah, we walked it in. Did I have the kilo when I saw you, Phil, or was it afterwards?
Yeah. No, you had it when I saw you.
Yeah. So we couldn't open it, so we walked to the aid station, and we opened it. Of course, we had to see whether it was a kilo of cocaine. There was the video. I'll send you the video. Where it was, yeah, we're rich, and it was. So they called the police, and then the Denmark police turned up, and then they got stumped by the Albany police turned up. Then the judge squad turned up, then border security turned up. So I think later on in the day, there's about 15 policemen around this aid station. But yeah, that was it. That was the highlight of the 200 miler, and there's obviously more there. If that's your thing, I suggest you walk down to Paris Beach with a head torch, because there's probably more coming in. But that was the highlight of the 200 paddo, I must admit. And of course, as soon as you get home, it's amazing. You get home, you tell the story, and everyone knows someone who could have sold it for me. Everyone. Everyone's having a go at you. Kev, why did you give it to the police? Well, it's illegal. It's a kilo of cocaine. You could have sold it. What part of illegal don't you understand? And knowing my luck, of course, I'll sell it, get caught, and go straight to jail. And I'm far too attractive to be in jail. Far too attractive.
Oh yeah.
No. And that was it. That was the highlight of the 200 miler. To find a kilo of cocaine.
And Phil and Rob, did you both run along the same part of the beach?
That's what I mean. See, I found it and I gave mine in. Now Phil and Rob had backpacks on, and Rob had a dodgy calf. Maybe Phil did very well in the second half. If you look at his Strava, his speed increases exponentially after he met me. I'm not saying anything. I mean, I'm not the sort of guy to call it, but I'm just saying Rob and Phil were there at the same time. And if there was lots of packages, they were ahead of me, so they could have picked up 4 or 5 kilos each. If you see Phil and Rob in Lamborghinis and Ferraris, you will know it's cocaine.
Hey, and I know you said before your goal is 48 hours.
Oh, yes.
Your best is 40. Is your best 47 at the moment?
47. Can you believe they let me stop at 47? You know, ridiculous. Sean Kessler and Phil. And this is a time where we went way beyond what we thought we were going to get. You know, that was when everyone dropped out at 33 and left me and Phil together for 13, 14 hours. And I was gone by probably high 30s. I didn't know what day of the week it was. I didn't know where I was. Yeah. And they kept saying, one more lap, Kev, one more lap. And then got to 47 and, you know, Sean Kessler goes, you know, that's it. You know, if you want, you can finish, because Phil would get 48, which is was a big deal at the time, but I had no idea what my name was. So I didn't know what 47, the difference between 47 and 48 is massive, as you know. You know, 196 miles or 197 miles compared to 200. You know, how would Sean do that to me? You know, he could have kicked me out for one more lap. So last year was 48, and so I was a bit like the boys. You know, I had COVID and I tested positive on a Monday and a Tuesday, so I was as bad. I didn't feel great the whole time and staggered to 34 and timed out. It's the only time I ever timed out. But this year, I'm ready. I just want my 48. I'm not greedy. I just want 48. At my age, that's all I want. And at 48, we'll see where we are. But yeah, it's a long way. It's a warm up to these guys, but to me, it's a stretch goal. It's a 48. All I want, one more lap.
Yeah. And Jess, between the Sat Champs and now you spent a bit of time overseas, so you must be feeling pretty fresh and ready to go.
Yeah, so it's been a weird kind of build up to this one, because I was away for about 6 weeks over our summer over in Europe. So Northern Hemisphere, in the snow, in the cold, obviously very different to the summer over here. So did sign up for an ultra while I was away. You know, as you do, you're on holiday, but you've still got to get it in. So did it was a 70k over in London. So just sort of did that almost as a training run, just to keep up the kilometers. Held me accountable to actually do some runs whilst I was away as well. So did that, came back, and then I've just had 5 weeks of sort of solid 100-kilometer plus weeks to try and get the sort of the run back in my legs. But yeah, feeling good hit out at the 50k last weekend, and then taper starts now pretty much. So yeah, just excited.
And what countries did you go to?
We were sort of a little bit all over the place. So we flew into Berlin, straight to the beer hall, straight to a pork knuckle and a stein of beer. So that kind of set the scene for the rest of the holiday. And then we're up in Scotland visiting some friends up to the north of Scotland, so nice and snowy up there. And then over to Iceland. So a week over in Iceland, back to London for the race, and then 2 weeks in Eastern Europe, sort of Central Eastern Europe. Cool. So sort of all over the place. I tried to run at least once in every location.
Yeah.
It's just such a good way to see the city. You know, you can get around in the morning when it's early. There's no tourists around. You can see a lot more. You can get a lot further. So yeah, tried to run at least once in each place, and yeah, it was awesome. Bit different though, running in sort of 3 or 4 layers at a time just to stay warm.
Sorry.
No, one of the other highlights was actually the park run that I did in Poland, and it had snowed the night before. So you're sort of doing park run, and you've still got, I think there was 80 odd people there, maybe 100 people there, just all in the snow running around. It's just a normal weekend for them. And I'm just there going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, this is so different to anything I get at home. So yeah, that was definitely a highlight.
I've heard that running in like really nice fresh snow like feels awesome underfoot as well.
Yeah, fresh snow is great. Ice, not so great. So definitely, like in Iceland, it was just ice everywhere. So I just didn't even bother when I was there. But yeah, you just got to sort of take it easy. But the fresh snow is unreal. Yeah.
The and you referred to this Herdys as your redemption run. After
yes. Yeah. So satellite champs. So I did 26 hours at the satellites. So my PB is 45. So that was obviously significantly less than that. Bit of an unfortunate sort of series of events. So I had my partner, Jared, crewing me. Got to the second night and I was really struggling with fatigue. So I think I was maybe running with Aaron and I was running with Carl and Margie at the time as well. and just really struggling with fatigue. So I came in on this lap and thought, right, Jared, I need to sleep, wake me up before the start. So anyway, I've put my head down, and I don't always get to sleep, but this time I did. Unfortunately, he also fell asleep in that time. So I've literally woken up to knocking on the van door where I was sleeping, and sort of sat bolt upright, and it was the race director, Peter, and Carl's girlfriend, Lauren, there. And I've just gone, what? With the few expletives, obviously. Looked at my clock and it was 1:04, and I've just, like, it's over, it's done. Like, there's nothing you can do. So sort of woke Jared up and just said, it's done. And then it's just dealing with that, obviously, afterwards, which is pretty hard to deal with, A, coming to terms with it yourself, but B, how can you get upset when that person's given up their time? They've spent a lot of money to get over there. They're devastated as well. There's a lot to deal with there. So obviously didn't go to plan, but we've definitely dealt with that. I think it's made us stronger from a race perspective, in how we sort of handle the different challenges of the race. But also just together, I think that makes us stronger as well. But definitely put different things into place going into Herdys. Got a few extra crew members to help out, which will, because it's hard on them as well. Like, it's really hard on the crew. They're fatigued as well. They don't get much sleep. They're then sitting around for a lot of the time as well. So, I think we don't want to underestimate how hard it is on them. But yeah, definitely want to get up more near my PB and beyond this time. So looking forward to it.
Sure. You also mentioned that you found it a little bit hard to find your motivation for backyard ultras as well. How did you get it back, or do you have it are you fired up again?
Yeah, it's been a really weird arc. So immediately after, like literally the week after, I was like writing in a journal, putting down plans, like straight back into running. I had another 50K in December, 6-inch. So straight into training for that, and got super motivated. And then sort of around Christmas, New Year, you're away on holiday, just start thinking, oh man, I don't have the training here. Like, I don't have the kilometers. I don't even know if I want to do this anymore, because it is really difficult. And then it was actually listening to, I think it was maybe Nicole or someone on your podcast, I can't remember exactly who, but just the way they're explaining it, and just, how much it's a mental push to keep on going, that sort of just reignited the fire completely. And seeing things like, even Kev was talking about the 47 that he did. I didn't know Kev at the time, but I was there that day, and just seeing the way he just kept going lap after lap after lap, and he kept shaking his head, and he's like, no, I'm done. And then Sean would go, it's 3 more laps till this or whatever. And he's like, okay, 3 more. Yep, I can do 3 more. And then he goes out and does that. And then Sean goes, well, it's 1 more till the record. And you just see him go, yeah, okay, I can do that. And it's just that mental sort of push that it's addictive. Can you mentally keep going? And sort of hearing that on the podcast just sort of reignited that fire. So yeah, really ready to go again.
Yeah. It's because backyard ultras are such long, grueling, tiring events. Do any of the other of you feel a lack of motivation to do another one after you've finished doing a long backyard ultra sometimes?
During the backyard ultra, like when you get to around 24 to 36 hours, I'm just like, I'm not doing another one of these. Why did I sign up for this again? I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But then once I'm finished, and you just get that elation, you want to sign up for another one.
Yeah.
Once you've had a good sleep and sort of maybe a couple of days to recover. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's during the race I'll get those thoughts, but afterwards I'm like, yeah, I want to do another one.
Yeah, that's pretty. I'm surprised actually you said after like 24 or 36 hours you start thinking that, because that means you're fighting those thoughts for a pretty long time.
Yeah, so I think it just gets boring, and it's just that monotonous grind. You get to 24 hours and you're thinking, well, I still have to do all of this again before I'm even at 48 hours. And 24 hours just seems like such a long time at that point. But then once you start, you get past that 36 or past that 48 hours, you start getting into that new territory, or well, for me now, it's going to be onto the third day. It starts to get exciting again, and you're finding these new limits, and you think you're done, but then you surprise yourself and do another 5, 6, 7, however many laps. And so I think that sort of just gives you the drive to keep going. But yeah, when you're in the middle of it, like halfway through, it just gets boring, and you're just like, why am I doing this? Why did I sign up for this? Like, I'm only at 24 hours and I've already got sore legs and I'm already tired. This is stupid. But yeah, you just got to just take it lap by lap. Try not to think about how much further you've got to go. Like, on my watch, I don't even look at my overall distance. I only look at the distance for that lap. And I just try to, like, I'm always going to be aware of sort of what time of day it is and things like that, but I just try not to think about it. Just look at the lap that I'm on and just focus on that lap.
Do you set your watch for each lap? Start and stop?
Yes. I will lap it each lap.
Yeah.
So when I turn off my auto lap, so it's not beeping at me every kilometre. But yeah, after the 6.7, I press lap, and then the watch is still running during the break. And then when I start the next lap, I press the lap button again. So at the end of it as well, I look on my Garmin, I've got all the breakdown of each individual lap and each individual break. And then whilst I'm running it, I can just look at the pace that I'm on for that lap, and I can track it a lot better. I don't have to do any like mental calculations in my head as I'm running along. I know what pace I need to be at for that lap. I know what the distance is going to be for that lap, and that's all I got to worry about.
Yeah. So Phil, you've got your golden ticket to Big. So you're obviously, you don't need to worry about that. But are you going to start tinkering with your strategy at Herdys to get ready and adjust to the minimalist conditions at Bigs? Yeah,
so I am going a bit more minimalist, not quite as much as I'm going to be restricted at Bigs. But it's also going to be a good chance for my crew, for Gem, to be able to work with less, because I've always had a lot of crew. I think the Satellite Champs was my smallest crew, and that was 3 people. So yeah, Gem's going to be doing a lot of it on her own, and so we have to play around with sleeping strategies. Like, she'll go and sleep for 3 hours, and then I got to look after myself. Or I was talking with Aaron as well about sharing crew, so like just helping each other, and hopefully Aaron can get over to Bigs as well, and or any of the WA guys that get over there. I'm sure we can sort of come up with some sort of arrangement to have our crews help out each other, because I think that's going to be the biggest difference at Bigs, is only being allowed that one crew. It'll be a bit of a bit different to what I'm used to, so I have to work on that. Yeah.
Are you going to kind of like scale down each backyard ultra you do for this year leading up to Bigs to kind of like slowly get to that point? Or have you not really thought about it?
I've only just really thought about Herdys at this stage. So I've got the Masters in June, and that'll be again, I've got to get on a plane and fit everything that I need to take in a suitcase. So I'll be minimalist by that sort of those restrictions I've got on me there as well. But yeah, I'll just take each race as it comes.
Yeah, that's going to be a perfect opportunity, isn't it? Because you've got the day course and night course like Bigs as well at the Masters.
Yeah. It should be good. It will be interesting having the different course. I think I would prefer that format. Just you don't have the same monotony the whole time. It's like when you do a 24-hour race and you get to turn around and change direction. It's sort of something to look forward to, even though you're still on the same course, but go in a different direction. It's like, wow, this is like completely new to me now. Yeah. So I think that day and night loop will be a good thing. But yeah, at Bigs, I've heard that the day course isn't really that easy. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge as well. So I think I'll be really looking forward to those night laps where I can stretch my legs out a bit more.
Yeah. Have you got your tickets yet, like over there yet? Or have you like planned when you're going to get there, how long before and stuff?
We've just worked on getting the passports and stuff organised at this stage. We've been looking at prices for tickets and trying to work out when we can fly. I've got my leave from work around that time, so I've just managed to move that just the other week. So that's worked really well. So I should have enough time to get there. I'd like to get there at least a week before and stay at least a week after, and then allow a week for the event. So hopefully be able to make a 3-week holiday out of it.
Yeah, cool. Are you going to take the whole family or just you and
you? So that's another thing we've got to work out. So definitely we'll be taking Gemma. We got to work out what to do with the kids, because even if we can bring the kids with us to the event, that means Gemma now has to look after more than just me. So we got to work out if we can get a babysitter to come across with us to watch the kids for those few days, or what are we going to do with them? But we'd like to take them along. It's make a nice family holiday out of it.
Yeah, sure. I've got a few listener questions on Instagram, so I'll read them out and we'll see how we go. Do you have any dark horses to watch out for at Herdys?
I can't think who's on the start list, to be honest.
I was going to say, I don't think he's really a dark horse, but I know Carl's really trying to give everything. Carl Douglas really put everything into the backyard format. Like obviously the last couple of years he's done a lot of trail running, a lot of obstacle course racing, and it sounds like at the moment he's really just focused on the backyard format. So I'm really curious to see how he goes, because he's a really good runner.
Yeah.
I think there will be some dark horses, but I just don't know who they are yet. But it just seems like each event, there's always someone who surprises me, and I'm just like, where did this person come from? And like there just seems to be someone coming out of the woodwork, or they've been doing training that they haven't been putting up on Strava or something like that, and just someone that you wouldn't expect. And because it is a lot more of that mental thing as well, like someone who might not be like winning a lot of races or have that, you might not think that they have that physical endurance, but they've got that mental endurance, and then they could just come and surprise you on the day.
Well, there's going to be 300 people, so there's going to be at least a couple of surprises.
Yeah, definitely.
Are there any different tactics to manage the early loops with such a large number of runners?
Just start at the front, and then just do a good first K, and then you can settle. Like once you're a K into it, you can kind of settle into a slower pace or whatever. But having said that, even if you start at the back and you're just really slow at the start, you'll be able to make up that time during the lap. So I wouldn't stress about it too much.
Yeah, I think it could almost be a help rather than a hindrance, because it holds you back a little bit. Because at the start of these backyards, you feel good, so you potentially go out a bit quicker than maybe you should. So, I don't think it'll affect the actual lap times too much.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to time out because they're blocked behind too many people.
Yeah, I think the problem would just be if you don't want to be lining up for the toilets or things like that when you finish the lap. So if you don't want to be getting in around the same time as a lot of other people. So just have to try and manage that a little bit.
The starting corral must be pretty big.
Yeah, well, there's actually about, I think it's 150 meters or maybe even up to 200 meters between the finish and the start. Yeah. So there's plenty of room to accommodate there. But I think it's really just probably the first, 30 meters maybe that fills up, and it's pretty jam-packed in there.
Yeah.
But I just generally start at the front, so I miss all of that.
Yeah. So I've been asked, what shoes are all of you going to wear?
So I've got my Tarkines, and then I sort of alternate. But this sort of race, because you don't need to go fast, or you don't need any. There's nothing technical. So just a really good volume trainer, I think, is what you want. Something that's comfy, and yeah, just a few different shoes, because you'll find that your foot might start rubbing in a certain point, and if you just change your shoes, it can stop that. So
yeah.
I also find I'd learned the first year I did Herdys, I made this mistake. Is I actually run in a pair half a size bigger, or a whole size bigger for these backyard ultras, or have one available for later on in the race. Because the shoe I usually run, 1 or 2 hours in is fine. But then longer and longer into the first backyard I did, my toes were just getting so sore, just from rubbing on the end of the shoe. So I've got, I run in Hoka Cliftons most of the time, and I've got a pair that's a size bigger, and I've also got a pair that's the wide foot style as well, just to get some extra room in the toe box. So yeah, that's what I'm using.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that's similar for me. I've increased the size of the shoes that I run in by. I was running in size 10s when I started Herdys last year, and now I'm running in size 12s in general.
Wow.
So I've gone with much larger shoes just because last year I had so much trouble with blisters and foot care, and I found that by running in bigger shoes, it's really helped my feet.
Yeah, that's a pretty big difference from 10 to 12.
Yeah, and I think maybe my feet have also grown a little bit, but I'm not really 100% sure.
Yeah.
Exactly how it all works though.
What about you, Kev? I know you love your shoes.
Yeah, no, the Hoka Mac 5s. I would go in the Hoka Mac 5s with the triathlon laces that Phil recommends. The ones where you can just slip your shoes off and on. You don't tie double knots every time.
Yeah.
That's a little trick I got from Phil, because the first time I did Herdys, I didn't take my shoes off till about 40 laps in. And as soon as I took my shoes off, the bloody feet expanded. I put the shoes back on. I was in agony for the next 2 laps. So Phil mentioned the triathlon, the laces, the elastic laces. So you don't actually tie your shoes. And every time I finish a lap, the shoes come off. Get in the chair, get the feet in the air, and then get looked after. But then by taking the shoes off every lap, your feet don't expand as much or as quickly by leaving the shoes on for like 40 hours. That's a big mistake, taking them off.
Right.
So Hoka Mac 5s. I'll probably wear the same shoes the whole time, but just take them off after every lap.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's interesting.
That's another field trick.
Yeah.
Have that one off. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to clarify, you take off your shoes between each lap.
Definitely. I'll get on the seat, put the seat back, shoes are off.
Yeah.
And then I'll just get my food or drink, whatever, then put the shoes back on again. So if I was doing that every lap, I'm doing a double lace. It become a bit of a pain in the backside. So these triathlon laces work really well. They've got a bit of give as well. But they it's what Phil does.
Yeah.
So I do what Phil does.
Do all of you take off your shoes between loops?
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah. What about you, Jess? What shoes are you going to be wearing?
I go with the Ultra Paradigm. So they're quite a volume trainer on the road for ultra. But I just like mixing it up. So I've got different pairs of the same shoe that I just change it up. Don't so much take my shoes off every lap. Sometimes I will, just to roll my foot out, like get a tennis ball and just roll my foot out. But yeah, just changing up the shoes I think works really well for me.
Yeah, cool. What's one piece of advice to a first-time backyarder who wants to do well?
Keep eating.
Yeah.
Eat. Like, you burn so many calories, and you get to that point where it's harder and harder to eat. So you really just want to keep up the calories that you're taking in from early on, and just eat as much as you can with still being able to run, I would say. And that's the thing that did me in my first 2 backyards, was just that I wasn't eating enough. And then you get tired, and then your brain function starts to deteriorate, and you just decide not to keep going. So I think eating's really important as a new person to the backyard, getting used to that.
Yeah, sure.
I reckon 2 things would be get sleep before you need it. Like, try and sleep or rest. Like if you want to go, if you're saying they want to do really well or get some big numbers, is definitely get that sleep in as soon as you can. And the other one is don't set a goal. Like, don't have a number. Don't go, I want 24, or I want 36 or whatever. It's like, if you want a really big number, is you just have to go until you can't go anymore. Because as soon as you set that number, that's what I did in my first backyard. 36 laps was like my A goal. It was like that, that'd be amazing if I could reach that. And I found I was counting down the laps to that point. And then once I got to that point, I was like, I'm done. When physically I could have kept going. So I think if setting a goal, a target goal, is always a risk.
Yeah, that you'll just bomb out mentally once you reach that goal.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So my advice would be to have a plan. Just break it down each hour, what you're going to do. Play around with paces for the different laps. Write down what you're going to eat. I'd agree with Robin saying not to set a goal, but with your plan, you've got to write it to go up to something. So just put it to something that's so unrealistic and far-fetched. Put it up to 200 laps if you want. So that way you're not writing up your plan to 48 hours and then, you suddenly find yourself at 48 hours and you're thinking, oh, well, now what? If your goal just goes to something ridiculous, then, you'll just be able to keep going and going.
Yeah. What about you, Kev? Any advice for a first backyarder?
Yeah, I think the first time they can go so much further than they think they can. They all can. They really can. This format is built to get you distance, because you're stopping every hour for 10, 15 minutes. You're surrounded by like-minded people. You get to be at the front every hour on the hour. So you just get dragged along. And as what Jess says, in the ultra, it's all about eating and drinking. The number of people I know who time out or tap outside because they've got stomach issues. Oh my God, everyone gets stomach issues. Luckily, I don't get stomach issues. My wife's such a bad cook. I don't think she heard that. So I'm very lucky. These 200 milers, I'll eat all sorts of crap and I'll just keep on going. So I'm very lucky that I can do that. Whereas I know Phil has got exactly what he wants, his toast and his avocado, which is eat proper food as well. That's another one. Eat proper food. You can't survive 48, 76 hours on gels and goos. You need proper food as much as you can. Big lunch, big dinner, big breakfast. When you're going to eat, you eat when you should be eating. Have a big breakfast in the morning, nice big lunch, and then a nice big dinner, and then I'll graze on as much proper food as I can. Not as nice as Phil, and I don't get toast and avocado, but rice pudding, etc., and anything full of calories. And also, you are going to go further than you think you can. So the most important thing is tap out, don't time out. If you tap out, then you're done. If you don't make it in the hour, there's nothing more you can do. You've given it your all. And I reckon 10% of people tap out of the 300. Of the 300, I reckon only about 30, maybe less than that, will actually tap out. They'd always
time out.
Time out, sorry. Time out, tap out. Yeah, time out. So I get my time out and tap out confused. Only about 10% will time out. Everyone else taps out. And if you always think of excuses at the time, and if you say to yourself, "Look, I'm going to time out," and just tell your crew, "Don't let me tap out. Kick me out, make me time out." But then when you time out, you've given it your all, and you know that you can do no more. If you tried to do it in the hour, you couldn't get in. Enough said. But so many people don't. I've done, this is number 9. I think I've only timed out once. That was at Herdys last year. The other 7, I've made an excuse. I've got my numbers. I'm happy where I am. Even with Phil, I was pretty close. But even then, I got to 47 and I tapped out. I didn't time out. So, but very few people time out. So that'd be an excuse. If the first timer, just see what you can do. Don't ring the bell and unless you have to.
Yeah.
That's it.
Aaron, do you have any advice for a first-time backyarder?
I think the advice that's been given so far is pretty good. It was a couple of things with the first things that came to mind for me, but maybe something I guess I learned from my first backyard is even though I'd written down a bit of a plan, I didn't do a very good job at communicating with my crew about what I thought I might need, particularly in the later stages in terms of like even how I want them to talk to me, or I think at Herdys last year, at one point I probably had about 7 or so people like hanging around the marquee, and everyone wanted to help because they were excited that I got to 20. I was probably about 26, 27 laps at that time, and I actually found that quite overwhelming. So, I think something that's good to think about is just really being clear and communicating with your crew about what you want them to do, and to set them up so that they know how to help you the best way that they can. Because I think that I found that as I've gone through, I've got much better at being able to get the right assistance that I've needed, particularly at times where you're like struggling.
I've actually got one though as well, because you're going to be going further than you've probably ever gone before. You're likely to chafe worse than you've ever chafed before. So get some chafing cream and put it on.
Oh, don't even go there, Palo. T8 shorts. I'm not sure what you wear, Jess, but any male needs to wear T8 shorts.
I've heard your story.
And the T8 underwear.
Sure. Yeah, T8 underwear, T8 shorts. If you're going to go, it should be compulsory. I'm not sure. Is there a women's version of T8? Is there a women's T8? I don't know.
Yep, they do both.
It should be compulsory. When you pay your entry, you pay an extra $100 and you get a pair of T8 shorts and T8 underwear.
What's so special? How come that's so good, the TH sort?
Oh, man, Palo. There's life. There's many things in running which you never forget. Like the first time you wear carbon plate shoes, one of those moments where you're running in carbon plate shoes and you think, holy mother of God, where have you been all my life? The first time you put on T8 shorts and the underwear, they're so light, and you got them on, and you're checking all the time you got underwear on because they're so light. You're like, whoa, am I naked? And the guys that designed them, they designed them in Hong Kong for the really humid conditions, and that's why they designed them so light. Because obviously in humid conditions, you are going to chafe all the time if you're not got perfect clothes on.
Yeah.
So there's Phil that's got the T8 tops as well. They're really cool, but the T8 shorts are incredibly light. And they've got the inside underwear as well, the two parts, the underwear and the shorts over the top. And they're just built to be so light and to stop any type of chafing. And that's all I wear. So probably the same as Phil. That's all I wear. I've got like 4 or 5 pairs. That's all I wear. And so there's life before T8 shorts and there's life after T8 shorts.
Right.
And it's one of those things in the running world that everyone should get them on because they're just incredible, just absolutely incredible. And I've no chafing since 2 years ago at Herdys. Well, I nearly died.
Yeah. And you're an advocate for TH shorts too, are you, Phil?
Yeah, that's all I run in now. And I'll wear it for these events. Like for more than 24 hours at a time, I can wear them and have no issues with chafing at all. The only reason I change is because I'll have a shower and it's like, well, I might as well if I'm stripping down anyway, put on a fresh pair. But yeah, I could wear them for days and not have any issues with chafing. So highly recommend.
Yeah, cool. For someone running their first backyard ultra at Herdys, how should they go about setting up a pace strategy?
The way I do it is I look at, I plan out like when I'm going to eat, when I'm going to sleep, and if I'm going to shower, and depending on what I'm doing in the break will determine what sort of pace I want to go at. So I've got my normal sort of comfortable pace, which is about, say, 45 minutes per lap. And then if I don't have much to do in the break, I'll go a bit slower, about 50 minutes. If I've got something where I need a bit of time to to do something during the break. So either sleeping or having a shower, I'll try and do it in under 40 minutes. But having said that, if I'm working too hard to try and get under that 40 minutes, I'll just back it off. There's no point burning yourself out just to try and get that extra couple of minutes of sleep. So just do what's comfortable in your training runs. Just play around with paces. I'll always have walking as well. So that 45 minutes, I'm not running that whole time. I'm not running at whatever pace it works out to be for that 45 minutes. I'll probably be running at a quicker pace, and then I'll stop and I'll walk for, maybe a K or so. If it's really hot, I'm walking in the shade and running in the sun. But yeah, just have a play around with it. Find what's comfortable for you. But yeah, don't think you have to stick to that exactly. As long as you're getting in under the hour, then you're good for the next lap.
Yeah. And they have showers at Herdys, do they?
Not at Herdys, but they do have a tap, and I have a hose with a shower nozzle thing which I hook up.
Yeah.
So it's close enough.
Cool. He even brings his own shower pad. See, that's why he wins.
Are the rest of you going to do anything like that?
No, there is a shower there, Phil, isn't there? There's that shower halfway down the finishing line. Proper shower, cold one.
Yeah, that's the one I use, but I put my proper shower attachment on it. It's really just a tap.
Oh, okay. All right. No. I don't normally walk unless maybe in the later stages I sort of stumble and try and keep stumbling for the full 45 minutes, and then a bit like Phil. If you got something, if you want to eat, it's nice to get there 5 or 10 minutes earlier so you can sit down and eat. And I'm like Rob, I don't sleep. I just hit the no dose for a couple of days and enjoy the hallucinations. But of course, that does limit about how far I can go, because obviously, I'm surprised Rob can go 3 days without sleeping, because the second night I'm seeing all sorts of shit. So I can't imagine another night. So I'm never going to get to the sort of numbers these guys get to because I don't sleep. So although it would be quite interesting to get to the third night, I'm not sure what sort of stuff I'll be seeing. I'll probably wander off into the lake and never see me again. But no, I don't sleep. So I'll play it by ear. As Phil says, if I'm going to eat, I'll try and get back a bit quicker. But apart from that, I'll try and stumble along and try and get back in between 45 and 50 minutes every lap.
And Rob, did you hallucinate at Murwillumbah?
No, not really hallucinate. Just you get to the point where your brain interprets shadows as objects, and you're like, oh, that's a car or that's a person. You get to it, you're like, no, that's just a shadow on the road, or that's just the same tree I've run past 20 times. So no, I didn't get hallucinations. Just like the shadows on the road were really messing with my head a little bit. Like I felt they were moving around, but not actual objects. And there was one point I actually got down on my hands and knees to check the road, because I was looking in the puddles and it looked like there was all this mesh in there, and there was actually this cardboard mesh they've put in, I think, to stop the potholes. But I had to get down on my hands and knees and touch it to just settle my head and go, there is actually something down there. But and I didn't have any major hallucinations.
Cool. And in your training blocks leading into Herdys, what's the one aspect that you focus on that you think's most important? Aaron?
I don't know. I think in terms of training, I think it's consistency is the most important thing. Like my training over the last 12 months is like the distances have grown a little bit, but essentially I've had the same structure for most of the time, and I've just worked on trying to make sure that each week that I've got something that I'm working towards, and that each session has some kind of key thing that I'm working towards. There's usually something that, whether it's an interval session, if it's about efficiency, like thinking about like I'm thinking about my form when I'm running and thinking about my heart rate and doing whatever I need to do in that training session to make sure that, you know, what my coach Pete has put into it is what I get out of it. I think that would be my key thing about training.
Yeah.
One of the things I found which is a bit unconventional, is like making sure your mobility and flexibility is really good. Because especially if you're going for a long time, any little imbalance that you've got is really just going to niggle away and get worse and worse and worse. So that's one of the things that took me down at Birdies. I had some tight hips and it affected my IT band, and then my knee just was, it was twice the size by the time I finished, and that really slowed me down. So going into the SAT champs in the lead up to that, I was really conscious, like every night on the foam roller, doing some mobility work and making sure that, hips and hamstrings and quads and all that stuff was in a good space, because you just, over that long distance, it just wears it away.
Yeah. Nice one.
Yeah, I'd say just master the art of showing up. So like those, it's easy to run when you want to run and when you're in a good mood for running, or if the weather's really good, or you're running in a really nice location. But it's the runs where you might have had a really long day at work, or it's boiling hot outside, or you've drank too much the night before or something like that, and you just really don't want to get out there and run.
Yeah,
those are the runs that are going to help build your mental strength. So getting out there and doing it when you don't want to. Because there's going to be plenty of times in the backyard where you just don't want to go to that start line, but you got to do it anyway. So it's all very well to go and do bulk miles and lots of time on your feet. But I think the important runs are the ones that you don't want to do. So just as long as you can master the art of showing up. So just getting out of bed and doing the run that's on your plan, even if you might not feel like it, just despite what the conditions are or how you feel. Just get out there and get it done.
that's the 5K a day mentality, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was like the foundations of my running, and I still live by that today. There's plenty of times I don't feel like running. People just think I just love running so much I just want to be running all the time, but that's not always true. There's definitely times out there I can't be bothered. Like I'll run to and from work every day, and there's some days at work might have been really busy, really tired, and it's like, well, I got to get home, so that's it. Just put my running shoes on and let's get home and just get those runs done.
It's pretty cool, like you were building this mentality well before you even knew about backyard ultras, but it was helping you build this mentality that would work for backyard ultras so well.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things I look back on in my past which I think helped build the foundations for running backyard ultras. So like one of the things, for example, I used to work at Domino's, which was like late nights, and the time that you closed wasn't the time you got out. You still had to finish all the work, which sometimes could be like on a good night, it was 1 hour after close, but you could be there till like 3, 4, 5 in the morning. There are a few times I'm there and the sun's come up before I'm leaving work. And it's a bit like a backyard ultra that you don't know when it is you're going to finish. You just go once the work is done. There's a lot of stuff I look in my past that I think has helped build that sort of character for me that excels at backyard. So
it's cool. Jess, do you have any aspect of your training that that's most important when you're getting ready for a backyard ultra?
Yes, I definitely sort of similar to what Phil was saying, especially this block, it's been more about the mental training. And I think I heard Tim Kay say it towards the end of last year, everyone's fit out there, but who can mentally keep going and keep pushing? So that's kind of been the theme of my training this time. I think I've done more double days than I've ever done before. Just you don't want to go out for that second run, but you just go out and do just an easy jog even, but you're mentally out there and you're showing up. And getting up before work. So I start work at 5 a.m. So I'll get up at 3:30, go for a 5K run on the treadmill. Do not want to do it, but mentally, I'm putting myself out there and getting it done. So I think also normalizing weird times of day and night. So the fact that I get up at 3:30 a.m. for a run, to me now, 3:30 a.m. feels like the morning, and it feels like the day's starting. So come that night, I'm getting to 3:30 a.m. and I'm going, oh, it's morning. It's the next day. Great, keep going. So definitely this time the mental side of training has sort of been my main focus. So I'm excited to see how that sort of transitions or translates into the backyard with the volume as well.
Yeah, cool. Have you got any Herdys specific handy hints?
I think for Herdys, I break it down into 3 laps. So three sections. As Phil says, the first section's like crushed limestone. It's quite hot. And then it goes into bike path and then it ends up in trail. So it actually works out quite well. You've got 3 different surfaces. And then, so the first section is probably a couple of 2.5K to the bridge. Then you've probably got another couple of Ks of bike path and then maybe a K and a half or 2Ks of trail. So it breaks down into 3. So I always break every lap down into 3. So I'm not waiting for 6.7K until I finish every lap. There's like, there's a bridge and then there's a trail. So yeah, I break it down into 3. Break each lap down into 3. So I'm not doing 1 lap, you're doing 3 mini laps.
Yeah. And
then you can then time it. So you're ticking goals, 3 times per lap or twice in the finish. So that's a good Herdys tip because of the 3 services. It really works out quite well. Break it down.
It would keep you mentally a little bit more mentally active as well doing that.
Definitely. Like I always find the first half, the first third, the hardest on the crushed limestone, and then you got the bike path, which is really nice. But then the best part is the trail at the end. That's the bit I look forward to because it's coming to the end of the lap, and it's the bit I like most.
Yeah.
So if I can just get past that first section, then the next 2 are doable. I know I'm going to finish the lap quite happily. It's just that first little 2.5K gets a slog. Later in the race, it's fine at the start, but later in the race, like Phil says, when you're walking, you walk in the shade and then you're trying to run in the heat, and that first bit can get incredibly hot because it's white.
Yeah.
And open to the elements, but that's my tip. Break it down into 3 sections.
Predictions. I've been asked if you guys want to give some predictions about each other's loops.
48 for me. 48, then I'm stopping.
You can't stop, Kev. You can't stop.
49 for Kev.
I can, and I will.
50.
My days of big numbers are well and truly. 48 is a big number for me. These guys have got bigger aspirations, so I'll let them predict, but not for me, no.
I'm predicting a new female Australian record for Jess.
Yes.
Or even maybe female world record, 68, Jess.
Yeah, what's the female world record?
68.
That's a gimme.
Yeah.
That's a
I
gimme.
think you can get that, Jess.
I'm putting that out now. Jess will get female world record.
Monday afternoon.
No, that's a gimme. That's done.
Yeah, I don't think Margie's doing Herdys though. I don't know if anyone's heard Margie's.
No, she's not. She's going over to do the Rome Marathon, I think.
Yeah, I'm bummed about that, to be honest. It'd be good. Yeah. Be good to have the 2 of us both have a good day on the same day, because I've had good days and she hasn't had the best day. She's had great days and I've not sort of shown up that day. So I think if we can get a race where we're just both together, yeah, it'd be cool. But I think Jen Millam's another one that she has have a good day and she'll go really well as well. But yeah, big numbers there.
Any predictions, Rob?
No, I don't know. I think, I think it'll be a long race. But I think it'll definitely surpass any of the other WA totals. Is my prediction. And if it, especially if the weather stays, in the mid-20s and it's not too humid, I think you'll see a lot of people get up well over that 24-hour and push up to the 48-hour mark.
Yeah,
agree. Definitely.
What do you think,
Aaron?
Aaron?
Good to get a bit of company. It'd be nice to get 10, 12 people to 48, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Look, at the moment, it's one of those tough ones. Like at the beginning, it's good to throw out numbers, but and I've already thrown out that I want to go past 72. But I think once you actually get to the race itself, you stop thinking about the number and you'll just start thinking about the lap you're on and trying to make sure you get that one done. And so that's certainly, I guess the reason I guess one of the reasons that I've thrown out numbers is I've kind of been doing a lot of reading on the mental side of running, and I came across a neurobiologist. His name's Andrew Huberman. You might have heard of him. I first kind of saw him on Rich Roll's podcast, and one of the things he was talking about was what he said was that foreboding failure is twice as effective as thinking about like when you're going to reach a positive outcome. And he used fitness as an example. And so in the example he gave, he spoke about that people are more likely to take action if they're, thinking about the negative consequences. So like they're trying to get healthy and fit. They're more likely to take action if they're thinking about, okay, if I don't go on my run and change my diet, whatever, I'm going to get fat, I'll be unhealthy, I'll be this, I'll be that, as opposed to thinking about the fit person, the six pack they want or whatever it is. So I guess for me, once I get going, I certainly have found that thinking about not wanting to fail at the goal that I've chucked out there will drive me a lot further than thinking about, will I get to that goal specifically? Because I'm sure I'll get to 72, I'll probably celebrate it for about 15 seconds and then I'll be like thinking about what's next. And so for me, thinking about just not wanting to fail at that is probably what I'll be thinking about throughout the race. Although I know that probably didn't exactly answer your question, but that's kind of, I guess, the way that I'd feel like I'd be approaching it.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Well, thanks heaps, all of you, for coming on. I've had a really good time. I think it's been a good chat, and I think a lot of people will enjoy listening to it.
Thanks, Pato.
And
Thanks,
enjoy
Pato.
watching it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What was that?
Enjoy watching it on I'm sure it'll be on Facebook or somewhere. You better keep up to date. I'm sure the USWA will put it on so you can keep up to date and watch all the videos and watch us go round and round and round for days and days and days.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm really looking forward. Good luck, every single one of you. I'm sure you're all going to do really, really well. And I can't wait, actually.
You can always come over and do it yourself, Pato.
Yeah, well, I was thinking I might do it. I want to do some different ones next year that I'm going to do this year, so maybe I will come over for it next year. I'm doing birdies this year, and it's going to be a bit.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it will be really good. But I didn't realise how far away it was from the airport when I signed up. I thought I'd just be getting off the plane and I'd be there.
Oh, no. Get in touch. You can come down with me, or you're going to get lift down loads of people.
Yeah.
It's an incredible weekend. It is. It's totally different to Herdys. It's just all the USWA team, and it's just mental. And it's a really good course as long as it doesn't rain. Because if it rains, it can really screw it up. Like a couple of years ago,
rain wasn't too bad.
And this year, that's why I stopped at 36. I saw the weather, and there's a monster storm coming in, and I got to 36, and these guys are still going. And I got in the back of my Prado, and I was in my little Duna, and it was just pouring down. I just thought that was such a good idea, getting out of 36, because it must have been horrendous. It was just a deluge for 2 or 3 hours.
It's funny, Kev. I turned around to Chris the next morning and I said to Chris, I was like, it didn't rain that hard, did it? I must have been so delirious that I just like didn't comprehend it.
Yeah,
you guys ready? Didn't give it away, Aaron.
Yeah, no, I know. I realised that we were running through there was about an 800-metre stretch that was fully submerged, but I was like, it didn't rain that much. Come on, it wasn't that bad. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it was bad, and I was in the back of a Prado, and even I was going like, that's the best decision I ever made.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
And Kev, you pulled the pin just before the big storm at Hysterical Carnage as well, didn't you?
No, I got caught in that one. Holy mother of God. Well, no, what happened was, Pado, I got at 25, it was just a deluge. It was absolutely horrendous. It was, I've never seen rain like it.
Right.
Very similar to but it's fine because in the middle of the day and we had a Gore-Tex jacket on. So even though it was really, really bad, it was actually, I quite enjoyed it. But then my ankle swelled up to a point where I could just about walk. And I went to the famous Michelle, the race director, and I said, look at my ankle. And she just basically pulled up my sock. There you go, you're okay, on you go. I said, what? You just pulled my sock up. I said, well, you can't see it now. I said, well, all right, good points. I went for another couple of laps, but the ankle gave out. And then that was lap 27. And you're right, lap 30, I went back to the accommodation, and lap 30 was just horrendous. Lightning, thunderbolt and lightning is very, very frightening. Yeah. And it was right above our heads, and it was horrendous. It's so loud, it was scarily loud. And then they stopped it at 30 and called it quits, and there was like 5 people left. So I was gutted because if I just done 3 more laps, I would have won. I say won. 5 people won. Yeah. But that was there was a massive deluge at 25, but then the ankle gave up for that, and the ankle gave up again because rookie error the week before the Ferrell. I moved my timing bracelet from one ankle to the other, and I tied it too tight. You wear an ankle bracelet, and I had it on too tight for the whole day. And as soon as I took it off to move it, I thought I'll move it to the other ankle. As soon as I did that, like with Herdys, I had the ankle bracelet on for like 30 hours. Took it off, and the foot just went boom, and it blew up. It blew up for the whole week, and then of course 5 days later, I was doing another backyard ultra, so it never really recovered. Right. So that got me there. But 36 was pretty bad at birdies, but the guys and Jess powered on through. So hopefully we won't get that this year. This year it was fine until the 36 hours, and then it got nice afterwards. I don't think the guys were that upset, but after 36, 37, 38, but that's about, was that 3 a.m. or midnight? It was quite late at night as well. Didn't know. Good excuse to leave.
I guess I'll see most of you at the Masters as well. I think, Kev, you're not making it, but the rest of you, are you going to be there, Rob, the Masters?
Not sure at this stage. I haven't committed to it. So I'll see how Herdys goes.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. I'm planning to be there, but because I've got Tennessee, and that's going to cost a bit of money and stuff. Yeah, I want to get to both, but if it comes down to one or the other, obviously it's going to be big. So
yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
The Masters is going to be very big. I think as Rob says, you'd have to be worried about your 70s because the Masters there's a lot of people coming over for that. That's I'm not sure what they call it. It isn't a Herdys course though, is it? It's quite a difficult course.
Oh, it's Dead Cow Gully, so it's mainly. Well, I haven't been there, so I can't speak from experience. But from what I've seen, it's mainly all gravel road trails and. That's it, but it's really flat as well, and it looks beautiful.
Oh, okay, so it could be.
It's going to be similar to Birdies.
Oh, okay, but there's some quality. It's a quality field. It's the best field. It's the best field you're ever going to see in Australia because it's got a remit where you have to qualify. So it's whereas Herdys we've got 300 people. Masters you're going to have 100, 150, but they're all going to be quality. So that's going to be some big numbers.
Now, Harvey
Lewis. The cap's at 70.
Yeah. 70 people, but 70 people have all ran more than 30 hours.
I think it's going to be, Harvey Lewis is coming over for it, so that's going to make it extra special.
It'd be good to go, Phil, because you're going to get some support there. It'd be a pity to miss it. Maybe speak to some sponsors. Go and get Sean to sponsor you.
Yeah. Now, the plan is to get to both. But we'll see.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, thanks a lot, everyone. All the best at Herdys, and I guess we'll be in touch, and I'll see you again later.
All right, nice.
Thanks, Pato.
Awesome. Thanks, Pato.
Thanks, Pato.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, it would be awesome if you could share, comment, like, subscribe, all of that. If you've got any feedback, shoot me a message. Hope you have a great day. See ya.